so you can have the stretchy waistband of your dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Have you got that special pair of jeans that look great slung low, worn slouchy, paired with a belt, worn high, also looks amazing, cinches in your waist, makes your butt look great? Me too. Only I have a bit of a problem. I don't have a way of pulling this off. Some might say, just wear a belt. I say, no. While a belt is a fantastic accessory to really vary up any outfit and change the vibe pretty easily, it draws the eye to the waist, creating the illusion of a narrowing waist. However, on me, it presses this invisible bloat button. I don't know about you, but I rapidly expand when I put a belt on. I need something stretchy, comfy, but I also want to look good. So how am I gonna pull this off? I know a lot of wide-hipped, narrow-waisted girls do the shoestring thing, but while that accomplishes cinching in your waistband, it doesn't do anything about the non-stretch nature of the shoelace. I would think you would also spend so much time adjusting the waistband. You get it just right, kind of scrunched up in the back, but then throughout the day it scoots forward and you end up with this like bulge at the front. Also, every time you're going to the bathroom, you're untying that shoelace. What happens if you lose the shoelace? What happens if it falls out on a wet public floor bathroom? So today I thought I would share with you a method and a few variations upon this method to achieve a permanent yet temporary adjustment to your waistband. Now the main principle for this method will be the same, however I'm going to show you several variations just so that you know there are options out there and you can choose what's best for you and your pants. And yes, there is a no-sew method, so you can have the pants of your dreams without living in stretch pants, which I am actually wearing right now, maybe. Thrifted these a couple days ago. Actually, I thrifted my entire outfit and I think it's pretty cute. But we're not here for that. We're here to talk denim, trousers, non-stretchy waistbands. So I'm gonna stop talking, let's get sewing. First up, the classic jorts. I cut these off from a wide leg pair of jeans and cuffed them. I enjoy wearing them baggy, but also, because of the wide leg, if I wear them high-waisted, it helps create the illusion that I have a waist. A look that I do enjoy. So let's get these altered. I'll want to determine where I'll be placing my elastic. For these jeans, I only want the elastic to be on the back waistband. I'll then mark out where my buttonholes will be. I want them to be about 1.5 inches towards the center back from my belt loops. This will leave room for the button to be attached. Make sure that your buttonholes are at least the width of your elastic. I'll then seam rip the top of the belt loops I'll be attaching the elastic under, as well as the center back loop, but only the top of the belt loops. Then I'll seam rip both top and bottom of the top stitching of the waistband. This will help the waistband lay flat under the sewing machine when sewing the buttonholes in place. They are chain stitched, so just rip a few stitches and the rest will come out easily. Next, attach interfacing to the inside waistband where you'll be sewing your buttonhole and attaching your elastic. Now sew your buttonhole on the inside piece of your waistband on both sides. Next, seam rip the buttonholes open. For this pair of shorts, given the waistband width, the elastic width, and the weight of the fabric, it's rather thin and lightweight for denim. I'm sewing in a narrower channel that will house the elastic to accentuate a paper bag waistband. If you choose to do so, now would be the time to sew that channel. You'll also want to top stitch your waistband back into place on both the top and the bottom. I was able to save the thread from the chain stitch to reuse here so that the threads matched exactly. Now measure and cut your elastic. This buttonhole elastic is available many places. I found it in Joann's, Walmart, Amazon of course. Wawak is a wonderful resource, great prices, and I found it in a varying sizes. I haven't found it, I think, larger than 3/4. Perhaps it's out there and I just haven't looked hard enough, but ultimately having pre-made buttonhole elastic is ideal. And thread it through the channel. This will take some time. Once it's evenly dispersed along the back waistband, flip the raw side of the elastic under about 3/8 of an inch and stitch to the waistband under the belt loops. Now you can stitch your belt loops back into place. Once this is complete, you can hand sew on your buttons. Now let's see how they fit. Voila! Jeans you can wear high or low that will expand or contract with you throughout the day. When wearing high-waisted, the wide leg of the shorts helps add to the illusion of a more defined waist, creating the curve of the hips and a narrowing of the waist. Ah, the beauty of elastic. Second pair, the lander shorts. These are the first landers that I made, and while I stuck to the pattern mostly, I did make one alteration. I curved only the back part of the waistband, and I kept the front waistband true to pattern with no curve. Because of this, I want my elastic to encircle the entire waistband. Similar to the jorts, I'll determine where I want my buttonholes to be and where I'll be attaching the elastic. I did not put belt loops on these shorts, so I decided to continue the stitching up from the button placket to the waistband. Because of the width of the belt loop and the materials I had readily available to me, I decided to create 2 channels. This will not only get the job done, but provide more adjustability given that the waistband in front has no curve. I then seam ripped both sides of the waistband 2 to 3 inches on either side of where I'll stitch my buttonholes. I'll add my interfacing and stitch in the buttonholes. Then I mark the center of the waistband and sew in my channels. Next, I'll measure the circumference of the waistband to determine the length of elastic that I'll need. Next, thread your elastic. I opted to have only one side with buttonholes, a decision I'll later regret. Stitch into place. For me, this means threading past the button placket, then continuing that stitch line up to the waistband to secure the elastic on the non-buttonholed side. On the other side, attach like the previous pair. Stitch up and close the waistband. Stitch on your buttons. And voila, you're done! A fully adjustable waistband that conforms to your body shape and moves with you throughout the day. Now I said I would come to regret not having the adjustability of 2 buttonholes on each side of the waistband. This is because of the width of the channels, the width of the elastic, and the makeup of the materials of both. The elastic does not run as smoothly across this material, so the scrunch is not as uniform as I would like it to be. Not the end of the world, but take this into consideration if you do this alteration. Up next, I have something quite different. I have for you a pair of chambray paper bag waisted shorts. Many alterations were made to them. First off, I bought these on clearance several years ago. The inseam is 3 inches. While this is the year of great gams for me, 3 inches is a bit too short for me to be comfortable. Now these pants have a cuff on them, and I purchased them thinking, I'll do something with the cuff. Either I'll open it up, however that would leave the hemline quite visible. I thought maybe a contrasting material, opted against that. I'm embarrassed how long it took me to figure these pants out. The cuff is sewn up into the pant leg. Once I seam ripped one leg, I could tell that I could just drop the whole cuff down about 1.5 inches to 2 inches to give me that extra length and comfort, and so I went ahead and did that first. I seam ripped off the old cuff, then with right sides together stitched the cuff to the pant leg at the bottom, flipped it in, used the original hem, and then stitched in the ditch to attach the inside of the cuff to the shorts, and bam, an extra 1.5 to 2 inches. But we're here to talk waistband. Now these shorts really need to sit high on my waist to pull off the style, and they're not that loose, they're just a little bit. They just sit a little bit too low that it sits in this weird spot. It's very unflattering. So I needed to raise them up, and I have been interested in doing a sheared waistband for quite some time. I've done them before, shearing the entire waistband, but I've never done a section, and I have this idea for pants in the future, this pattern I'd like to draft up. So this was a fun project, and I got to experiment. So it's also another way for you to potentially alter your pants. I would not recommend this for a heavyweight pair of pants, however lightweight, this could be just right. First, you'll want to determine where you want your shearing to go and seam rip that area and several inches past on each side. In my case, it made sense to sew in between 2 darts on the back. So I seam ripped those darts open, thinking if I sheared to the center of the dart, I could then close up the darts and I would have a really nice clean line and not see the messiness of the shearing. I then determined my shearing spacing, which might be generous. I was very tired at this point and made several mistakes, so do as I say, not as maybe I do in the videos. So determine your spacing. I did about 1/4 inch. However, think about how you're going to attach the lining of the waistband. I knew how I wanted to attach mine, but I just didn't put it into practice. I should have left 3 spaces non-sheared along that 1/4 inch spacing so that I could tack down my lining along that spacing and everything would be quite nice and neat. Once you determine your spacing, mark out your lines on the right side of the material, not the wrong side of the material like I am doing here. You'll want your top stitching obviously facing up and your shearing on the inside. Stitch your shearing on, starting at the top, working your way down to the bottom in one long zigzag so that you don't have to start and stop and worry about any of your shearing coming undone. When that's complete, stitch up your darts, or however it is that you plan on finishing off the sides of your shearing. Maybe it's on the waistband side seam. Maybe you plan on doing like a decorative placket over the top. Then you'll stitch the waistband down, like I did here. I stitched it down in 3 places. I love this waistband. I can't believe it has taken me so long to put into practice. I feel like this is the summer of finally getting all these ideas that I've had for years and years, whether they are big or small, into practice. I am loving this. Are there any projects that you have been putting off for years and years that you've finally gotten around to this summer? So these paper bag shorts went from slightly saggy and too short to fitting up around the waist with a longer inseam, finally making them something I'm comfortable wearing and flattering. Okay, we're getting down to it. This next pair is a pair of classic 100% cotton heavyweight denim jeans. Now, I didn't have the width of elastic that I would like, so I chose to make my own buttonhole elastic. Also, I did this to show that you have other options. Maybe you want to use up some scraps from your stash. I also chose this because I wanted to use a woven elastic. Woven elastic doesn't get narrower when it's stretched, it doesn't roll, and generally it's a bit thicker and stronger. I thought it would be more appropriate for this heavier weight of fabric. I highly recommend, with heavier weight material, working with an elastic that is at least 1/4 inch narrower than the width of your waistband to 1/2 inch smaller than the width of your waistband. So in my case, this is a 1 inch wide waistband and I am using 3/4 inch elastic. Now, woven elastic does have an unfortunate property about it. When you stitch on it, it stretches. If you're using a buttonhole presser foot, they'll end up larger. It's not that big of a deal. I would stitch in more buttonholes than you anticipate needing, as the elastic may stretch and become a little bit too long. Now, like the others, determine where you'll place your buttonhole and where you'll stitch on your elastic. Seam rip the corresponding top belt loop and the waistband. Add in your interfacing, sew in your buttonhole, and I had a bit of trouble with this. The fabric kept bulking up and prematurely triggering my buttonhole foot to start back too soon, making my buttonhole significantly too small. If this happens to you, no big deal. Just seam rip out the stitches. You've got the interfacing there to back up the integrity of the material. And what I ended up doing was just manually holding my presser foot into place just till the very end and then letting go and letting it do its own thing, and that worked out perfectly. Cut your buttonhole open and then close up and stitch your waistband. Having the appropriate top threading thread will come in handy here to give the outside of your jeans a seamless look. Now thread your elastic. Stitch your elastic under the corresponding belt loops. Reattach your belt loops and then manually sew on your buttons. And now, gorgeous high-rise jeans. I feel pretty salt of the earth farmer when I'm wearing these. Only I didn't have to put in the years of hard work. I get to appreciate the wear and the weathered denim and give these jeans a second life. I love finding denim like this in the thrift store. Being able to see the old wallet markings and the wear of perhaps where someone was sitting for prolonged periods of time. It's just very cool. These jeans feel like they have history, and I'm quite happy to add them to my wardrobe and to give them a second life. Yes, yes, I did say there is a no-sew method for those non-sewers out there, so let's go ahead and get to that. Simply determine where you want your elastic to be. Measure and mark where your elastic will enter and exit. Now carefully cut your hole. You'll want a hole the same width as the elastic. You can accomplish this by bending the lining material in half and snipping in the middle, then working your way to the edges on both sides. Make sure you only clip the lining of the waistband. I recommend using fray check. It's not necessary. It will prolong the life of this denim and keep that hole from fraying. You can also apply it to the ends of the elastic to prevent unraveling and wear there as well. Now take your 2 safety pins and pin them to your elastic twice, like this. Attach one to your waistband and thread the next one through the holes and out the opposite end. Then attach that where you would like and get the adjustability and the waistband size that you would like. And that's it. Bam! Fully adjustable, non-fuss, elasticized waistband that you can pin and forget. No tying, retying, fussing about, and of course it's adjustable. Just alter where you have the safety pins attached on the elastic or on the waistband, and voila, you're done. Now don't get me wrong, I do appreciate this shoestring method, and I think if you have no sewing experience, it's a very friendly alteration. However, I am a set it and forget it kind of girl. I also like the movement of elastic, and so this is the alteration that I personally would choose. So what do you think? Will any of you try this alteration? And are you a fan of elastic as much as I am? Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! It is a pair of paper bag waistbagged. Why does that sound so weird? Paper bag waisted. There we go. I have for you a pair of chambray paper waist